strawberries that in gardens grow are plump and juicy fine, but sweeter far, as wise men know, spring from the woodland vine. Wild Strawberries by Robert Graves.
One must ask children in bolds how cherries and strawberries taste. Johann Wolfgang van Goethe.
A rose by any other name would smell like a strawberry?
While its flowers may not unfurl in a perfect whirl of colorful petals and delight the observer with its beauty, it does have the distinct advantage of being the most enchantingly delicious of the prolific rosacea family. Perhaps had Romeo and Juliet thought to serve their feuding relations a dish of strawberries floating in sweetened cream, the peace might have been restored between the two great families and a tragedy averted. Ah, but for the want of a strawberry patch, the future of the youthful, star-crossed lovers was lost. And here, despite the bard's lack of imagination and conflict resolution, leaving me to extrapolate this theory from between ink-blotted and scrolled lines, I do believe each of us who have experienced the sweet little berry would readily agree that its potential to heal rifts in the space-time continuum is not too far-fetched. And I think even Einstein would agree that perhaps nothing melts the experience of adulthood with the innocence of childhood quite like strawberry jam in a harmonious combining with peanut butter and spread on slices of soft bread, or even freshly churned vanilla ice cream dotted with the chunks of the sweet little fruit, scooped into crisp sugar cones on a hot summer day. It's a bit difficult to overstate the love that humanity has for strawberries. But this culinary love affair isn't where the story begins.
A little different than all the rest. I'm quite old-fashioned, where I had sometimes played chess. And when I'm out, I'm looking for that vintage fling. But all complexions that I adore, so hard to find, these seem impossible to score. So I dream on to someday find that vintage love.
In the beginning, strawberries were a wild bunch, covering the spring hillsides and carpeting forest floors with their cheerful presence, their small white-petaled flowers turned up to face the sun before giving way to an enticing red berry. Their fruit was small, and, in some cases, not very sweet. The ancient Greeks, who, as we have seen in past videos, may have hypothesized all of their origin stories regarding plants while less than sober, felt with all certainty that strawberries were the heartbroken tears of Aphrodite, the goddess of love, fertility, and prosperity falling to the earth. The Romans, not to be outdone, and likely equally deep in their cups, were quick to correct the Greeks' preposterous strawberry tale, insisting they were actually the tears of the love goddess Venus, inconsolable after the death of Adonis. And while they disagreed on the formal moniker of the weeping deity, both factions agreed that the entire plant, which had sprung from her tears, was medicinally useful, offering curative benefits to the digestive process, and, ironically, had the ability to lift one's mood, although apparently not that of Venus/Aphrodite. Meanwhile, in the Americas, the native Cherokee attributed the reunion of the first man and woman to the strawberry. Following a fight during which the wife walked away and left the pair hopelessly alienated from one another, the story goes that the son took pity on the unhappy man and created a new berry with an eye-catching scarlet flesh and an irresistible fragrant aroma to entice the woman. As the woman consumed the berries, she was reminded of the good times with her mate, and the two were eventually led back to one another with the help of the strawberry. Obviously, the moral of this story could also be not to engage in nonsense with your hangry wife. The son knew what was up. Further north, the people of the Algonquin, Dakota, Chippewa, and Lakota nations named the full moon in June the strawberry moon, as it signaled the time to harvest the ripe berries. And in Asia, the strawberry was utilized for its detoxifying properties as early as 2600 BC, with the Yellow Emperor said to have used the tea of the leaves to slow the signs of aging. In 12th century Europe, the abbess, soon to be known as St. Hildegard von Bingen, declared strawberries too close to the ground to be edible, as they were no doubt easily contaminated by snakes and toads. The leadership of the day confirmed the wisdom of her observation, and for a time strawberries fell out of favor. But by the 14th century, Charles V, King of France, could stand the strawberryless life no longer. And taking a courageous stance, he sent his gardeners to brave the snakes and toads, transplanting the woodland strawberries into his own humble berry patch, giving him only 1,200 plants to supply his every strawberry whim. It was good to be king, at least in this instance. In Christendom, illuminated manuscripts were carefully detailed by 15th century monks, with strawberry flowers, leaves, and berries appearing in the margins to represent the drops of blood shed by Jesus on the cross, the petals said to reflect the 5 wounds inflicted upon his body, and the 3 parts of the leaf which represented the Trinity. By the 16th century, cultivation of the strawberry had become a serious endeavor, and Thomas Wolsey created quite a stir when he whipped up a treat of strawberries and cream for Henry VIII that would outlast all of Henry's wives and go on to take the culinary world by storm, never again to go out of fashion. In the 1600s, the arrival of the Fragaria virginiana from the New World to the French potagers would unwittingly play the first part in a series of fortuitous events that were directed by an unseen hand and would eventually introduce the world to the modern strawberry. In a world constantly fraught with political intrigue, the Spanish War of Succession would eventually tilt the world dominance into the waiting hands of the British Empire, due to the battle being waged between the House of Bourbon and the House of Habsburg, as each fought for dominance of the throne of Spain and the right to possession of the Spanish Empire. Louis XIV was not liking his odds for winning this particular war. What he needed, in the monarch's estimation, was a super spy. Amédée François Frenzet was just the Renaissance man for the job. A military engineer in French intelligence, Amédée had a reputation of being both capable and brilliant, as well as personable. He had literally written the book being used as a text for all manufacturing of fireworks during his leisure time as a lieutenant in the infantry regiment. Having first studied science and theology in Paris, he followed this up with a stay in Italy studying art and architecture. His habit of reading 6 hours a day and writing extensively, coupled with his insight into fortress construction and defense structures, made him a formidable intellect and won him the prize of being a spy for the French monarch, who needed him to see what was up in South America. So in 1714, through pirate-infested waters and around Cape Horn, Frezet sailed under the guise of being a merchant. As he mapped the coasts of Chile and Peru and insinuated himself in the governor's circle of confidence to assess their strength and learn whatever he could. In the meantime, and quite by accident, he was introduced to the large Chilean strawberries, Fragaria chiloensis, which grew along the coast of Chile. This exciting discovery prompted Frezet to send a selection of the delicate plants back to France, where they were interplanted with the vigorous Virginiana variety already in residence. And here, in another happy act of fate, the Chilean strawberry was accidentally cross-pollinated by the Virginiana plant, creating a hybrid, the Fragaria ananasa. The French spy and renowned polymath, whose writings would open up the world of pyrotechnics, who built 26 defense structures, and who wrote on everything from engineering to mathematics, would be best known worldwide for the inadvertent discovery of the second half of a match made in heaven, which would result in the modern strawberry. Back in our modern world, and more specifically, in the Little House, there is not a soul who is not grateful for the hand of fate and the work of the talented, albeit accident-prone gardeners in the creation of the strawberry varieties which are currently grown in every state in the Union. California and Florida currently grow the bulk of all strawberries farmed commercially in the U.S., with an average of 10 million baskets shipped out daily during the harvest period. With each plant having the potential to produce 500 berries in a season, keeping up with the enthusiastic little berries production schedule without losing berries to over-ripening and weather damage is quite the challenge. These popular little berries are chock full of vitamin C and are known to benefit those attempting to manage or lower their glucose levels by their negligible effect on blood sugar. And they do indeed, as the Romans suspected all those centuries ago, improve your digestive health as well as your heart's through a bit more than just magical properties, with their plentiful fiber and antioxidant benefits. They are known to lower inflammation and support a healthy immune function, and due to their nutrient density, they absolutely have the ability to improve mood and even improve your skin, which, as every woman knows, will definitely lift your mood. When the taller Pixies were still small, we lived in the strawberry capital of the world. Or at least that was the claim. And since each summer one could walk through acres of hilled plants heavy with ripe strawberries and fill your baskets and stomachs to overflowing with ease, we never doubted the veracity of this assertion. Until we moved to southeastern Louisiana and discovered we lived not far from the strawberry capital of the world again. Confusing, but apparently we have a type when it comes to choosing where to live. This claim, however, was slightly more dubious, as we have yet in all of our time being here to see one field full of strawberries. But what they lacked in fields, they have made up for in their enthusiasm for the title, and in hosting the largest strawberry festival, dare we say it, anywhere in the world. This last part may not be exactly accurate, but when one lives in a small town that hosts hundreds of thousands of visitors making their annual strawberry pilgrimage to your neck of the woods over a weekend, it feels pretty darn big. Because, as old Charles firmly established, every potager needs strawberries, or 1,200, we have begun to increase our little patch, slowly but surely. The dark-haired pixie currently manages the tiny plot, which would make a certain monarch weep with despair at its 1,194 less strawberry plants than his own garden. The dark-haired pixie, though, is not fazed. She will grow her strawberry empire a bit slower, as there are currently no woodlands in our area from which she can procure her plants, and King Charles didn't have to pay those Home Depot or nursery prices to populate his potager. She could attempt to grow her plants from seeds, as each berry has more than 200 seeds on the outside of its fruit, but while the plants can be grown from seed, they are most often and much easier bought as plants or rootstock from a reputable grower, where the medieval gardeners, of course, are in short supply. There are 4 types of strawberry plants for her to consider. The June-bearing strawberry has large berries and produces a harvest over approximately 3-week period between early to late summer, depending on the variety. The ever-bearing strawberry, also known as the perpetual or all-season strawberry, is ideal for jams and jellies with its smaller berries and steady production. Day-neutral strawberries are close relatives of the ever-bearing strawberries, and as long as you keep them between comfortable temperatures of 35 to 85 degrees, they will happily produce fruit and runners. The final option is the alpine strawberries. These little darlings have an exquisite, intense flavor, packed into small fruit, and are the least demanding of the strawberry family, busily looking after themselves and even efficiently self-seeding, which makes them an excellent ground cover and a role model. Strawberries of all types love sunlight, preferring to sunbathe for at least 6 to 10 hours each day, and while they will tolerate most any type of soil, their favorite is one which is slightly acidic, loamy, and well-drained. They do have a few strong opinions about tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants, so to keep the peace in your potager, just don't. On the other hand, they adore garlic as a neighbor, so interplanting the two can help keep away the pests. Strawberries need some space, as they prefer to sprawl across their bed and send out runners to claim even more territory, so it is best to give them at least 18 inches in between plants. However, container or pixie planted strawberries can snug a bit closer without conflict breaking out in the garden. Most important is to plant the crown of the strawberry plant comfortably above the soil, as this is where the leaves and eventually the fruit will stem from. Typically, we would be the first to frown on pinching, but in this case, pinching the flowers off the plants in the first year will allow the plant to concentrate on developing a good root system and give you a much bigger harvest in the following year. As soon as the plants begin to set their blossoms, feed them with an organic fertilizer high in potassium to encourage their production. Be sure to eliminate the runners or the offshoots of the mother plant, which are aptly referred to as the daughter plants, if you want to increase your berry crop, but you can always plant daughter plants nearby and continue to expand your strawberry empire. One never knows when one may someday be able to live in the strawberry capital of the world through the work of one's own hands. Because the pixie's current crop is big enough to feed a single pixie and a pleasantly plump feathered berry enthusiast, our aspirations of filling the cupboards with freshly made strawberry jam, syrup, and strawberry basil vinegar relied entirely on us making a day trip to the closest strawberry U-pick before the season came to a close. Yes, we realized that we could simply find strawberries in any of the produce aisles or frozen sections of a grocery, but we prefer the satisfaction of harvesting the berries directly from the farm ourselves. So early one morning, off we went to Charlie's U-Pick in Mississippi, where they had recently opened up their strawberry fields to the public for picking. Row upon row of healthy green plants loaded with ripening strawberries made filling 7 baskets with the help of 6 people a breeze. And since we were already there, we stocked up on pre-picked seasonal winter veg from their other fields before heading down to the Gulf Coast for a walk along the shore. Once back at the little house, aprons were donned and berries were soaked in a bit of white vinegar and water before being carefully washed. Ingredients were prepped for a classic strawberry jam and a slightly fancier strawberry lemon verbena jam, with the lemon verbena being harvested from the Pixies Potager and added to the pot of jam during the cooking down process. While the jam bubbled away on the stove, fresh basil, picked by the golden pixie, was placed in a half-gallon glass jar, to which we added macerated fresh strawberries and organic white vinegar, before covering it open with a coffee filter and leaving it to extract the flavors and beneficial components of the fruit and herbs over the course of the next week. Once the bubbling jam thickened slightly, it was poured into jars and canned in a water bath, labeled and tucked away in the cupboards for use throughout the year on everything from fresh baked bread and biscuits to being drizzled on homemade yogurt or ice cream. The strawberry syrup can be added to lemonade or poured over pancakes and waffles, while the bright notes of the strawberry basil vinegar will elevate every salad it dresses. Sometimes, as I'm sure you've noticed, what we need in life is not what we have set out to originally acquire. Sometimes it's the happy accidents that become the most astounding windfalls. And sometimes you don't set out to live in the strawberry capital of the world. Not once, but somehow twice. But when you find yourself there, you might as well make the most of it. For all of the pixies, both tall and smallish, the magic of collecting their own berries and turning them into something delightful to grace their table is all part of a tapestry of memories that will continually inform them of who they are and to whom they belong. Every shared experience deepens the connection between their hearts, and as time goes by, I have no doubt they will relive these moments with their own children, creating new memories and culinary inspirations. And in that space, the past will touch the present, and for just an instant, time will stand still. Memories will connect, loved ones will be practically visible, and experiences will meld together to become something bigger than the singular event. And if there is ever a moment when the return to a simpler time is required, when the world feels a bit too big and much too heavy, then the best prescription may just be to open a jar of homemade strawberry jam and construct the perfect PB&J, stretch out in the sunshine with a feline companion, and sip on strawberry lemonade in between comforting bites. I propose that much of the day's difficulties could be resolved in this simple routine, and I suspect that Shakespeare would have trouble dreaming up a better way to idle away the hours of an afternoon. Thank you for spending your time with us today. We hope you will consider subscribing to our channel if you haven't already, liking the video, and commenting, as all of it helps us to continue to grow. See you next time.
Thank you.